Hello, and welcome to the Empowerography Podcast. This is a platform created for women's voices to be heard and a place to share their stories, journeys, and successes with the world for the purpose of helping other women who might be on similar journeys. We are empowering women one episode at a time. I'm your host, Brad Walsh, so kick back, grab one of your favorite beverages, and enjoy the stories. Hello there, it's Brad. The Empowerography Live Conference 2026 is happening live and in person for the first time here in Toronto in April of 2026. This is your chance to step fully into your power over 2.5 incredible days. You'll hear from 30 plus inspiring speakers, join hands-on workshops, and connect with women from around the world who are ready to grow, learn, and rise together. This isn't just an event. This is an experience that will leave you motivated, empowered, and ready to take action. Seats are limited, so head to my website and secure your spot today. All the information will be in the show notes, and we look forward to seeing you in April. Hello there, Brad Walsh here, your host of the Empowerography Podcast, a platform that was created to help elevate and amplify the voices of women through sharing their stories. Today, my guest is Kim Herrlein. She is a transformational coach, a visionary entrepreneur, an author, and the founder of Purveyors of Leisure, a portfolio of vacation rentals and boutique hotels, also a Connect for Success mastermind licensee. Welcome, Kim. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Brad.
Excellent. So excited to have you here. We've been working on getting this done for quite a while, so yes. It is so nice to finally have you here. I am so excited to jump in. So thank you for taking and making the time to be here with me today. So let us get this party started.
Yes.
What inspired you, Kim, to become a transformational coach? And how did your journey begin? Was there a pivotal moment in your life that was the catalyst for you to decide to get into this particular field of work, helping people transform their lives? And if so, would you mind sharing that with us?
Absolutely. I think I was born to be this. And I say that meaning that every direction that I've gone in leads me back to it. I think growing up in somewhat unstable household, I used my imagination and a lot of creativity. And I think I transformed into whatever I wanted to be throughout my childhood. I would dance in front of mirrors and I would sing, and it was a one-woman show, and had this moment of just absolute childhood escapism, probably more than anything at the time. But I think primarily what really catapulted me into recognizing the power of this, the methodologies and so on and such that I teach, really came from a devastating time in my family life when I had just graduated college. I had gotten accepted to NYU for psychology, master's, and the world was my oyster. I was leaving Boston, going back to New York where my family and friends were. Life was so good. And out of nowhere, my mom received a devastating diagnosis and had died within 11 weeks of finding out, within 6 months of me moving home. So my world was shattered. Obviously had an interest in communication and psychology. I think probably my first real what is going on here was my abnormal psychology class. I don't know if you've ever taken one.
No.
But most people joke about that. They're like, oh, that's okay. Yeah, that's what's happening in my family. Okay, I see the dysfunction. I get it. I see the patterns. So I was fascinated by psychology and communication. And that's where I spent my academic years pursuing. But when my mom passed away, it just absolutely just devastated me. And I started reaching for answers. And one of the first books, there was a number of influences, but one of the books that came to mind is Rabbi Kushner on why bad things happen to good people. And the villain in the story was actually my dad, right? And here he is living and thriving. And my mom, who's the saint, is no longer with us. And so it really put into perspective for me about the power of just understanding like why things happen to good people. And a lot of it is primarily on not integrating your heart, you're hurt, you're not healing, you're not doing well. And so what do? We internalize. And so it really started out a mission for me to understand. It all started about understanding. I have a real need to understand a lot of things. So that was my drive. I was also influenced by, at the time, my first mother-in-law. She was an active member of Marble Collegiate Church, which was the original Dr. Norman Vincent Peale's platform, Power of Positive Thinking. So I didn't have the chance to see him speak, but his successor, Dr. Kelly Andrew. And I had never had that feeling. I'd grown up Roman Catholic, not a whole lot of, I don't know, interest there. But when I was at that church and recognizing that spirituality and bringing it home in a psychological approach, all of a sudden things started clicking. And that I would say is really the timing of my mom already having the academics behind me, but really the thirst for understanding where do we go? Why do we do what we do? How do we do more of what we like? How do we do less of what we don't like? And so on. Yeah.
Yes, human beings are very interesting specimen. That's for sure. Why we do the things we do sometimes is just beyond me.
It's so true. It's so true.
So,
hindsight too, right? Like we could look back and be like, oh, obviously that's why you did that.
Now I see.
No, it's completely unknown, unconscious, right?
Yeah. Hindsight is 20/20 always.
Yeah.
So how have these experiences helped to shape the Kim you are today, both personally and professionally, would you say?
I think I made a choice without really even knowing that at that time, rather than really embracing the disdain and bitterness with what I was left with to handle, I was handling quite a bit, being a young 21-year-old all of a sudden and working where her mother worked, taking over family positions and roles. I was also taking care of my grandparents. All of a sudden I was thrusted. I went from this incredibly independent, excited person ready to like conquer the world to all of a sudden I became somewhat placed in my mother's roles. And it really taught me that that can happen. And it happens to us all the time. We get placed into roles and labeled and how easily it can happen. Even with I was very aware of what was happening. And yet at the same time, obligation was a big one. I'm very loyal. I'm very protective. And that really, I think, is what started the path, was recognizing my fierce protectiveness and loyalty. But when I had to make choices of this is not healthy for me, I can no longer sit in my mother's desk. Unfortunately, what happened, I got sick. That's what happens when you're not really in alignment with what you could be doing. So I think that I started making choices. I started making different choices. Now, not all of them are good, but I started making more independent choices for myself and putting myself first.
Yeah. That's a huge responsibility to be just thrust upon a 21-year-old. Oh, here you are. Now you have to start looking after your grandparents and assume the role that your mother had assumed, and just step in and do that at 21 years old. Like you said, you're ready to start living your life and conquering the world and doing all these things you want to do. But then it's like this reality check. Oh shit, I guess I can't do any of that because guess what? I have to step in and fill these shoes. And that's a lot to deal with and take over.
What did I do next? I married a man who I had since had separated from, and he was my best friend growing up, and we had a lot of familiarity, and went on to marry and have 2 beautiful daughters. And unfortunately, that didn't go so well. So here I am now repeating patterns that I had to a certain degree before my mom had passed away. I was educating her on her patterns, right? That kind of 20-year-old sass where you think, I took a few classes, I know what's going on, I know what's up. And, I'm from New York, so definitely had a little sass to it. And then all of a sudden I'm repeating the pattern. Hardcore. Didn't look exactly like it going in, which is always interesting. I think that's one of the misnomers, that people think you're going to have warning signs and all types of, warning signs and red flags and everything. Oh, but the reality is sometimes it's like, what do they say? Like a wolf in sheep's clothing. There's a certain aspects, like your hero, the person who's come, in essence, what it felt like a savior at that time, wound up to be one of the most difficult situations to come in my life. Unfortunately, he very successful hedge fund manager, we built a beautiful business, raised beautiful children. And at the same time, he suffered from addiction and went on to divorce, and subsequently he committed suicide. So
Wow.
a lot of life was like, okay, we're not done with you yet. And so I had options. I could be bitter. I could be pissed off. I could be angry and just hateful. And I just wasn't. I went to therapy. I had the blessing of meeting with some energy healers that, in my opinion, I love therapy. That was my initial choice for a career path. And at the same time, the energy work that I received for 2+ years, I totally know that was the game changer, like what shifted first thing inside me, and to really just move the energy. And it has stories about past life regression and so on and so forth, but it really opened my eyes to something else. Again, one more time, connecting me to that spiritual side, right? Here it is. I'm not necessarily seeking it, and I have no choice. It felt like I had to. It was like, wake up. You have to look at this. And so I think that's what started happening. I recognized I have choices, and I should be grateful for that, right? And start using them clearly, appreciating those, but start to making choices really with a little bit more forethought and a little less emotional, or a little less, not so calculated, but just really, I think, just integrating a lot of the things that I knew intellectually into my body and into my, really integrating a lot of the work that I had done at that time.
More intention.
Yes.
So what would you say then was the biggest or most valuable takeaway or lesson from all of these experiences for you?
I think to love again and again. That was message. I just kept loving. I was like, I don't know exactly what that looks like. I don't know where it's going to get me. I just felt I knew that love was the answer, and that meant loving myself. And I think that really became that truly was the time frame towards the end of that marriage and devastation within the family, where I really started to embrace loving myself and getting to know myself and trust myself. We joke about who do people do business with, right? That's like a networking, like people they know, trust, and love, right? And to me, it starts with knowing and trusting and loving yourself.
For sure.
And so that's really what I did. I just spent a lot of time focusing on who is Kim without the trauma, who is Kim. And at the time too, it was like, I had enough, I was doing well financially. I had a number of assets. Everything from the outside looks really good. And it crumbled and devastation inside and everywhere around. And it was not obviously what it looked like. And so it was an opportunity. It was an opportunity to say, okay, what kind of choices are you going to make next? And I stumbled upon a good friend of mine from high school. You know how you lose your friends, but you lose touch. And then Facebook, right? Facebook comes out, and all of a sudden we're all like, oh, hey, hi, remember that time? And it's really fun to connect with this nostalgic piece of yourself. And I was watching my friend Jennifer Grace on Facebook. First of all, she looked stunning. She was just glowing. It wasn't just being pretty. It was inside out, right? It was coming from inside. And she was teaching a class at the time. It was called Creative Insight Journey. Since then, it's been changed to Clarity Catalyst. And I reached out to her. I said, I have to tell you, like, you look great. You sound great. I want to know what you're up to. And she's like, I'm going to be teaching. I've been teaching this class live at some hotel in Miami or something. And she said, but I'm going to be going online. I'd love for you to take the class. I'm like, wow, I am so in. Let's go. And by the third class, so the coursework, stems from Dr. Michael Ray, who is a professor at Stanford University. And his whole thrust is the name of the book that he's known for is Creativity in Business. And his work is still being taught there today, 35 years later. And the reason he embraced this work and really had the need to share it with the world was he was watching so many people, and I don't know, I think we're similar age group, where when I was growing up, you went to college, you got your master's, if you got your doctorate, like there was from New York, achievement-oriented path about what made you whole, right? It made you successful. Yeah. And what his words were, and he'd come from a Buddhist tradition, or he had sought out a Buddhist tradition, but what he really highlighted was how many people were coming into his MBA program not knowing why they were there, having no concept of what do you want to do with this MBA? Yeah. I don't know. My parents told me I have to get an MBA. And so it's fascinating the methodology that he designed. And so I take this class with Jen, and third class in, I just said, Jen, this is wonderful. This really just ties everything up that I'm interested in a bow. We have mindfulness, we have meditation, we're journaling, all the stuff, right? All the good juicy stuff that I had been doing for a while, but really needed kind of good kick in the ass to get on some sort of program to be disciplined. And so she says, I haven't told anyone yet, but I'm going to start training facilitators, training trainers, and sign me up. And that was it. And that's 12 years ago. And so I went in wholeheartedly, 2 feet. I jumped in and went on to become a master trainer. And I was her director of education for a little while with her courses and her school. And so that was, again, 12 years ago or something like that. No, let's see. Yeah, about that. And at the time, I was feeling very open to what's next. I don't know what's next. I love this class. I want to teach it. And I started teaching it and working with people one-on-one, working in groups. And at the same time, it was a hustle. Let's face it. It was a hustle. And not everyone was on Zoom yet. This was pre-COVID. So it wasn't in everybody's repertoire to just say, oh, yeah, let's hop on Zoom and learn about myself. And so I also had a good friend who had been looking at some real estate in Palm Springs area. And I was living in San Diego, and he had said to me, would you mind meeting me? I'd love your opinion on this place. And he didn't, unbeknownst to him, I had been working with an interior designer years and years prior, helping her with her business. And I said, sure. Yeah, I'd love to. And next thing, I'm designing vacation rentals. And I have a portfolio we had 14 homes. We have a boutique hotel now. It literally just was one of those yeses that snowballed and became a business and a lifestyle, really. Obviously, I'm not always on vacation, but I certainly get to live in a lot of places that are like vacation. And it's an exciting business. And yet at the same time, all of the things that I just mentioned that I love and I feel so alive doing got put on the side burner. And now guess what? I'm bringing them back.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel I think sometimes we're creatures of habit, and the path is just like, you stay on the path, and I don't think that's who we are. I think there's a saying, and things are from a Walt Whitman poem, but that we're multitudes, right? The concept that there's no singularity is who you are. All the influences, all of your interests, all your passions, it doesn't make sense that it'll all be down this one path. That's it. And call it. Whatever.
That doesn't make any sense. We're multifaceted beings.
Yes. Yeah.
So what is your definition of transformation? Like, how do you define that word? What does that word mean to you personally?
I think it's when your inner world matches your outer world, like your outer actions. I call them aligned. They're basically aligned actions. And with the end result of it being unconscious contentment. And I say unconscious because we know how much the subconscious does drive us. And whether we understand when it's happening or not, that's all another story. The goal for mindfulness is to really fine tune or really get your senses attuned to yourself so that you can identify that. But I think when you move into a position, like people are looking for, they've done lots of happiness studies. I'm sure you know about those and all types of what's the definition of success. And I think truly, if you can get to a place where you're not real, like you don't have to make a choice, it's unconscious, it's unconscious contentment. That to me is the ideal space. Like And I'm grateful. I'm not saying perfect, but I feel
Right.
like in a lot of areas of my life, I don't separate from, I'm not hemming and hawing, what should I do? Or why did I do that? I rarely have that many times where I'm like, why the fuck did I do that? I don't have that. And I
Yeah.
think that is because I recognize that my inner world is so important to know thyself, right? To trust yourself, to love yourself so that you can take that outward. It's going to come out. Might as well work on what's going on in there. So that's it's my passion. It's to help people connect with that, within themselves.
It is so important. That's the most important piece, because that relationship that we have with ourselves is hands down the most important and longest lasting relationship we'll ever have in our lives. So you better get good with yourself and right with yourself and love yourself. We are the foundation for everything. It all starts here within us.
Yeah.
So it's key.
It is key. And I love John Kabat-Zinn, the saying, everywhere you go, there you are.
Yeah.
And I speak a lot on podcasts and other professional arenas. And that's what I start off with, so that people really understand that there's just absolutely no way that you're going to be two different people. Like professionally, I'm one person, and personally, I'm not. You literally, everywhere you go, there you are. Everything you're perceiving is through the same lens. And so it's an incredible, it's a good thing because you have control over it for the most part. I'm not talking about severe trauma and even that, obviously, there's a lot of methodologies and treatments that can be helpful. But I do think we have a lot more power than we give ourselves credit for.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think the other thing too is, like, for me, I started, as we get to a certain point, maybe in midlife, looking at what was my mother like. Unfortunately, my mom passed at 44, so she didn't quite get all the way to midlife. But looking at my grandmother, who did live to 95, and looking at some of my aunts that did age to 90 something. It was a long line of Italians that lived a long time. But I feel like you start to think, oh, that's what they were dealing with. Oh, okay. And then you think about culturally what was happening. And then you think about all of the pressures around that and being a woman. And I started to recognize just how enabling women in my family were.
Yeah.
Right. And that they somehow took that second position. And so I recognize that my goal is really to help people see that they can take all the good stuff about enabling. See, this is the thing. It gets a bad rap because it can lead to codependency, and obviously really some very terrible consequences can come of it and those choices. At the same time, at the heart of it, you care, right? You're empathetic, you're loving, you're loyal. There's a lot of really great, beautiful traits of an enabler. For sure. And what happens is when we are hurt and we sever that person, that enabler, right? When we're in our transition, hopefully transforming, you can be empowered. And that's why I always loved your podcast name. I was like, I'm getting on that podcast. It's like that's been my calling, is how to transition people so that you don't lose the pieces and the parts of you that are so lovely and wonderful and caring and loyal, but to how to use them, right? To embrace them and be empowered and empower others. So I think it's a misnomer. I know enabling I think it's just more of the role of the women for so long that I think there was a pendulum swing, and I just didn't want to lose the good stuff from it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so as a transformation coach, what do you believe are the key elements required for profound personal change?
I just created a framework that is called the Golden Thread Spiral. And in organizational psychology, there's something called the golden thread. And so in professional areas, it would look like every new idea that you bring, say, to the CEO has to attach a golden thread to the mission statement. So the concept is that we don't move forward unless it goes back. So I started thinking about that. I thought, how interesting. We do this in professional settings. What about personally? So I said, okay, I'm going to use the golden thread. And then I started thinking about, how do people change? Is it a straight line up? Absolutely not. There's no linear change, right?
No, it's definitely not linear.
It goes up and it goes down and it goes a little sideways, right? And so I came up with the concept of the golden thread spiral. And in order for people to change, I believe they need to be aware, accept, accountable, aligned actions, and acknowledge. So those are the 5 A's of the golden thread. And it's the concept that you're going to be doing this throughout all parts of your life, whether it's your relationships, whether it's with your relationship to finances, whether it's your relationship, your career path, whatever it is. There'll be times where, guess what? You may be truly good in your workspace, right? Whatever that is, you may be able to go through these spirals, no problem. But in relationships, you may really get stuck on accountability. And so my goal with this is a diagnostic tool to help you see, where do you get stuck? Like, what's your deal? Why, when it comes to certain areas of your life, are you able to like easily handle situations, move quickly, really feel into things, not feel dysregulated, as opposed to, oh, wow, okay, look at that. Even in my relationship and my business partner and I have this situation, I get stuck in accountability. Oh, wait, and with my husband. And then all of a sudden you start to say, okay, I have an issue with taking accountability from my part. And so rather than it being some sort of punishment, it's a marker. It's okay. I have a lot of exercises I can help you with. I have a lot of information. I have a lot of great books that you could read. I have so much about how to become accountable, and we all do. That's the problem, I think, for most of us, is that we have so much access to so many resources, but we don't necessarily understand how it pertains specifically to us until a good friend, right, or your therapist says, you really need to read this book. Or you should really connect with this podcaster and stuff like that. So I think I'm really excited. This is a lifetime of work. I really feel, I think that the time that I'm on your show actually is really, could not be any better from the point of view of, I'm ready to empower, right? I feel
congratulations.
Like I can step into that. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what role do self-awareness and introspection play in the process of transformation? And how do you encourage individuals to cultivate these qualities?
For me, I love morning pages, the concept, right? I'm sure numbers of people speak to them. I love the idea of, before really starting your day and allowing so much, especially now more than ever, the amount of influence that's coming in at all times and the constant aspect of that. But I love journaling. That's my go-to. I think I've been doing it since I'm 16 and haven't stopped. And it's interesting because people ask, oh, well, do you read your journal? And I said, no, there's a certain knowingness afterwards. I've become aware of something. It's moving through me. And maybe I had not even been aware of it the night before, right? It's coming up and out, and you're not really, let's face it, you're not judging what you're writing when you do it first thing in the morning. And that's because your inner critic isn't woken up yet, right? Like, it hasn't had its coffee yet. You're going to sit back. You're going to chill. We are going to get into this other place. And I think that space in the morning is a really important one. I'm really becoming a fan of just getting outside and getting that 15, 20 minutes of sunlight. And really, there's so many simple little exercises, like teach 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you're feeling anxious, look around the room and say, I see pomegranates, I see pillow, I see, literally touch base with yourself and work with your 5 senses, right? So it's like naming 5 things, basically touching 4 things. I feel my hair. It's 3 things that you can hear, 2 things you can smell. And then if you have something, a mint, put it in your mouth. And guess what? Right. All of a sudden, you're in the here and now because you have literally just taken your entire somatic experience to the present moment. Yeah, it's just, I think we complicate things as humans.
Yes, we do.
Right?
Oh, man. We complicate the shit out of it.
People I've been doing this, that's the other thing too, is you have to think about, like, how did we get here? We evolved from, we're the evolved ones. So
Absolutely.
they figured it out. Like, they just did what they needed to do. And I think we distance ourselves from the very place and space that can bring us home, which is ourselves. And I think that's a really critical piece. It was something I grew up saying, I want to go home. And I didn't really understand that. And more, it almost makes me cry because I was home. And I now have since to understand that was a spiritual calling. That was a different type of home from where I wanted to go. And so I think it's, this concept of being home where you are. Like really that's that sense of inside out, not outside in. Yeah,
for sure. What do you believe then is one of the most significant misconceptions people have about the process of transformation?
Oh, that it's going to happen instantly and it's done forever once it's done.
Yeah, because people don't want to do the work.
And I'm saying, yeah. I think time. I think we're just, and I can't even, quite frankly, the impatience of our society right now with all of its unique situations we have going on, obviously, with everything from just pure inundated information and a lot of inauthentic information. And so I think that, I think the perception of time is really particularly thrown off right now. So I do think time is probably the biggest one where people want to see it's like the ratio of like risk to benefit, like how much of myself, like where do I have to go, like how much of myself and how long is this going to take? And I think the other thing is that it as if you've arrived somewhere. I don't think you do. I think you're continuously applying what you've learned and what's worked in the past, hopefully, to continue to choose. And like I said, choosing love has been my motto. If I'm having a day where it just seems like every turn is just, man, that too, like what? I'll just inside my quiet voice, I'll just say, I love you. It's these three, it's so simple, so childlike. Yeah. But those three words just calms my insides. And all of a sudden, guess what? All the things that were annoying the shit out of me aren't even noticeable. It's incredible. It's amazing how quickly we can shift our perspective with some of the especially with the mindfulness training. Yeah. It's like people don't recognize how much power they give their mind. And
control. It's huge. It's so huge. So if you could share one powerful truth, what would it be?
That once you've done it, once you've truly gotten to that place of, like I mentioned, unconscious contentment, your life will never be the same. It's just you live from a more beautiful, full, open space. I'm not saying it's easy, not hard to, I don't get angry anymore. I'm not brutally honest. I'm much more caring. There's a softness once I've got to that place. And then what I can feel too is that because of that, I am in a much better position to curate that space, right? To hold that space, design that space, whatever it is that concept. Yeah, I think not having to do the work is really cool too. To have to like work through it the way you once did. Once you get to, and even though it's not, I know it doesn't end in the sense that another situation can happen that will require you to do the work. So it's not that it necessarily is a destination, but I do think it does get easy. I don't love the word easier, maybe.
Yeah.
With ease.
Yeah. The more work you do. Yeah, absolutely. The further the further along we get in our journeys, it does get simpler or easier, for lack of a better word, for sure. But there's always going to be that work. It never ends because we're continuously evolving as human beings and changing and growing. So the work's never done.
No.
What is one tip or takeaway that you could share with the listeners that they could implement immediately to begin transforming their lives?
Okay, really simple. So there's a filter that I use. It's called EEE. Actually, this is a great transition, ironically. And what it stands for ease, energy, and enjoyment. And so I think because we have so many choices, I think we can be overwhelmed sometimes with those choices. But I think we have to really, and this goes back to knowing and trusting yourself, look at the things that we do with ease, look at what brings us energy and what do we enjoy. Because that's your signal. That's your green light, as Matthew McConaughey would say, right? That's your signal. If something is bringing your energy down, which can be, people get sick, right? People are nervous. People have incredible anxiety, spend a lot, or depressed. When your energy is down, it's noticeable. It's notable. And when you are struggling, like, we're not here to struggle. Like, it's just, that's a choice, right?
Yeah.
So like, really identifying, what do I do with ease? Like, what comes, what am I in my flow? Or some people, like athletes, talk about it, right? And about the zone or whatever. Yeah. So like that concept, it's like having a filter, and people use it in very simple ways. Like when I was looking for a house, right? Using that filter, I knew this house that I'm in. I came into this house, and my office that I'm sitting in, these walls were painted this color, which I love. And guess what else? It had tacky decals all over it that says Je t'adore and Paris and the Eiffel Tower. It's been my lifelong dream to live in Paris. I walked into this house. It had great light. It had a beautiful backyard, gorgeous landscaping. I'm in Southern California. Like, I'm from Brooklyn, New York. Very different, right? So I'm just like, wow, I have arrived. And I come into this room and I realize this will be my office. And I see these, and I still have the Paris, like, one up there as a little, and I was like, yeah, this is it. And I think it's that now that's not a very transformational moment, choosing your house, but I do think the same thing can apply in relationships. We all have that friend that's really, we love her, but she's draining, right? Getting that call, it doesn't come with ease. I just want to grin and bear it. So there's just, it's a good, it's a way to, it's like a thermostat, actually.
Yeah.
Right? It's like getting a temperature reading on yourself. We have so much information inside us. Like our bodies are just they're just senses, like sensors, right? So they're just capturing all this information. And then our mind gets hold of it and is like, oh, this must be happening, and we got to figure this out. And yet at the same time, there's something else. And that's the something else is the transformation. I think it's the connection. It's the mind, body, spirit connection and EEE taps into that.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Kim.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So I want to talk a little bit about Purveyors of Leisure. You created Purveyors of Leisure. What is the deeper mission behind the brand beyond beautiful spaces?
I love this story just because it's so cute. So my current husband, Bren, was living with a roommate, John, and they were the gentlemen of leisure. And this is 21 years ago or something. And we all became really good friends. And subsequently, John and I are business partners and do a lot of the real estate investing and so on and so forth together. And so when we were coming up with a name for the business, we love words and semantics and all things. And so all of a sudden, I think it's my husband said, I mean, we were the gentlemen of leisure. Obviously, you're not a gentleman. And then we would just spitballing and a Purveyors came out. And I think it's just to me, it was just such a sweet moment of what does it mean to purvey, right? To provide a space and place for people to enjoy leisure. And we also had a beautiful community. I lived in Lake Tahoe for about 15 years where I raised girls, and had a beautiful, still do, but spread out, beautiful community of friends. And we used to travel together in large groups. And 15, 16 of us go to Mexico, Dominican, wherever it was, and we'd rent a home. Because who wants like 8 hotel rooms or 10 hotel rooms, right? And so we would rent these vacation homes and have a chef. And it was just, we live in large, right? But it wasn't really so much about luxury as much as it was about leisure. It was like, we don't have to think about that. Somebody will help us do that. It was just such a wonder. And because of the shared expense, we could all afford it and enjoy the leisure together. So those were the two, that's where the name came from. And that was the desire to create spaces where people could gather to create memories. And all of our homes are 6 bedrooms and up.
Nice.
We also now own a boutique hotel in Northern California and managing another one. And the goal even of the hotel is designed really for buyouts. It's a small hotel. It's 20 units, but it's ideal for family reunions or ideal for weddings and having a whole long. We've had some beautiful experiences. So for me, the whole time that again, how life works, right? I'm enjoying and getting great energy and designing these gorgeous spaces and thinking about where's grandma going to go sit? Like what's grandpa going to be doing in the garden? Like thinking about multi-generations. And that is what happens. So we have been doing that for over 10 years and it's exciting reading the reviews and hearing from people. And we have a family that's now spent 7th Thanksgiving with us, which is very touching to me. The idea that they feel so at home with their entire family. There's 18 of them. Yeah. And they have Thanksgiving at one of our homes every year, 7 years.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So having built an empire of leisure, what does freedom really mean to you as a woman in business?
The freedom to choose, I guess. Yeah. To choose. That I have choice to choose. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And freedom is my number one value. That's another exercise we could do, but it's really important to tap into what drives you, where your values are, the choice. I think, and I'm sure thinking back, it has probably a lot to do with disappointment that my mom had more choices. And I really, unfortunately, feel, and I knew it intellectually, but then to integrate it fully. When we know we need to do something and we don't do it, where does it go? It's in the body.
Yep.
And what is the opposite of ease?
Dis-ease. Yep, for sure.
And so I think that she didn't feel she had choice. And so for me, I think freedom is that I have choices and I choose on a regular basis. Like I am very aware that I'm choosing.
So how do you lead a luxury brand with soul in an industry that often sells surface over substance?
I think because we are more focused on the larger groups as opposed to, so like for instance, there's other properties 2 times the size of our properties, 10,000 square feet, that have 4 bedrooms, right? So it's like, that's a very different experience than a 10-bedroom. Where you're going to have your alumni friends from like college on your annual golf trip, or the women. This is so cute. This women in Borrego Springs, they come every year and they are mahjong players, but they've been doing it for 45 years. Like some crazy, so yeah, I think I love the stories. That's the thing is I really don't see us as a luxury brand. That's why I think we chose the leisure word as more so important to us. And we joke about we take leisure seriously so you don't have to. And I mean, we're full service. We have concierge services. My husband's actually a private chef at our homes, and we bring in yoga and sound healing. And it's a full on, you really are, when you are staying with us, you're really at your own private resort. That's how you get
the full experience.
You get the full experience. And I feel like it's less hoity-toity and luxury as much as it's comfort, and everyone has a place and space, and it's pretty, definitely. And there's a lot of activities, a lot of amenities, everything from pickleball to barrel saunas to sand volleyball courts, and just really a place where everyone can play. Yes, that's what it is. Everyone can play. That's it. That's it.
Love it.
Yes.
Love it. What's the difference between escape and intentional rest? And how do you invite people into the latter?
Okay. So I think escape to me is like a numbing of all of your senses. To me, it's like you're checking out. I want them to check in, right? I want people when they come to be like, and it happens. It's probably one of the most fun. We have a host that meets in each of the regions, a host that meets the guest when they arrive. And his story is a classic. One of them over here, because we have a lot of amenities at the houses here in Palm Desert and Indio. And The kids are just, the minute they get there, who's in the pool, who's already like playing one of the games and like in the game room. And I just think oh my gosh, it's so fun. Yeah. It's a good time.
Okay. Let's talk about Connecting for Success, the mastermind.
Yeah.
What is that all about? And what is your role as a licensee?
Okay. Yeah. Great question. So when I was getting back into transformational work, like I said, about now 12 years ago, I came across a beautiful woman. Her name's Kim Herrlein. And she had this idea of bringing an affordable mastermind for women, entrepreneurs, specifically entrepreneurs more so in the smaller side, right? Like solopreneurs, coaches.
Yeah.
We're probably more accustomed to being around a lot of people that are solopreneurs. And it started as I facilitated back then. This was, again, in person, before Zoom, before COVID. And we met monthly. There were some events attached to it, and it evolved over time. And so I then had since moved from San Diego and moved out here into the desert, and everything started to go back, wound up on Zoom. So then I was back. And now I believe so strongly we have 4 cohorts right now, 4 groups running. We try to keep the groups around 12 to 15 people, primarily for sake of, one, we want committed consistency, but also the goal is for everyone to have what we call a moment in the success seat. And so the mastermind, as some people think they know what it is, but basically it really becomes like your board of advisors. It's a place and space where we particularly more recently have been giving everyone a theme. Like last month was all about communication. And so you can choose to bring to your success seat a question for your group around some issue you may be having with communication. And that could be within yourself, out there, whatever, marketing, however you want to look at it. Or you can always bring, if you have something more pressing, you could obviously choose any topic. And the point of it really is to bring together like-minded people who are willing to put it out there, really interested in growth mindset, want to be successful, recognize being in business is, I think Kara she coined the term, and I think she just trademarked it as well, the isolation syndrome, isolated entrepreneur. It's great. I'm getting to talk to you right now, but normally I'm just sitting here
on your own, working on your own. Yeah.
And so I think there's a certain aspect of that rings true, the entrepreneur isolation syndrome.
For sure.
And so Kara had reached out to me knowing that I had been talking to her that I was moving back into teaching my classes again and really starting to speak more openly within my industry about mindset and the importance and the tools that I have and what I could share. And so she basically, very similar to what happened with Jennifer early in 2014, where she said, I'm actually meeting with whoever it is, her advisors, to license the program. Would you be interested? And I was like, are you kidding? Yes, absolutely.
I'm in.
I'm in. So again, choose again. Yeah. And so right now I'm facilitating, this whole year I've been facilitating with another facilitator in one of the groups. And we just announced the Elevate the Experience. It's a 100 women conference in San Diego that we'll be doing the anti-conference. Yeah. So I love connecting. That's just the reality. That's my superpower. Yeah. I love connecting people. I love connecting with people. I love connecting people to themselves. It's like to me, it's really, I love connecting. I say connecting the dots between what you may not recognize as why or you're doing something. And so for me, the connection piece is such an important part of our journey.
Yeah. Connection is absolutely everything.
Yeah.
In your opinion, Kim, what do you think women really need more of in order to thrive in business? And why do masterminds matter now more than ever?
That's a great question. I think I have been studying to be an AI consultant. I am fascinated by the technology. I am a very curious person in general. And at the same time, I recognize what is going on for a lot of us. A lot of people are fearful. A lot of people in general have a lot of fear, which I do think that mindfulness and all this work that we've been talking about is the antidote to that fear. And I think that a combination of so much of our work is done behind these screens, and there's less and less connection unless you're truly intentional. And with hybrid work, or some people not completely remote, as many of us are, I think there's just such a desire to connect with people and to share a journey that is familiar, right? Like that people, that you're not the only one. I think to me, group work is magical. And I don't think I love therapy and I love one-on-one coaching, and it's right for certain people.
Yep.
At the same time, what I love in the courses that I teach, we do peer work, right? So every week so the courses that I teach, Clarity Catalyst and Creative Action Journey, you don't have to take them sequentially. One is best if you really are needing clarity and you really don't understand where you want to go. The other one, Creative Action, is more about, I know what I want. I'm ready. I need now to get out of my way, right? To get out of my own way. And both are 8-week courses. But what I love the most is that there's what we call soul work instead of hope work.
Yeah.
And we have peer accountability calls every week. And then we come back in group and we share. And when we share what transpired, it's almost like I don't even have to teach the course. Like, okay, I'm just like mic drop. Okay, you guys just figured that out. I just love creating that space and holding space for people where they feel safe. And I think that, to your point, the Connect for Success, the mastermind setting, I don't know how much networking you do, but it's a pretty cold environment for the most part. And certainly when you put men and women together, it's an odd combination of things going on. I don't think the intentions are aligned a lot of times. And you'll see this. A lot of networking I do is primarily female focused. However, I think there's just been a lot of confusion about what it means to be a success and what does it mean. I think we've been looking at the masculine model for so long.
Yeah.
We can look at our geopolitical situation and see that's not working, and recognize that women have this incredible opportunity right now. The access is the greatest it's ever been as far as across the board. And I think there's power in numbers as far as that. And empowering one another is what's better than that, right?
Yeah, it's everything, for sure.
It's really everything. And so I think things like women masterminds and more so women networking groups as well, and groups where women can come together, share their stories, be vulnerable. Podcasts like this, Brad, thank you.
Oh,
seriously, right? Like,
I love doing this, though.
I know you do. I've been watching you for years. I know you do. And it's really a blessing. I think it's so, to that point, to have a man actually empowering us is also an important piece of this story. So thank you.
Oh, it is my pleasure, my honor. It's my life's purpose. And
I know.
So I wholeheartedly enjoy this work, and I think it's needed now more than ever. And so this is my contribution to that, to help raise the vibration of the consciousness, to help give women a stage, because for so long they haven't had it. And so if I can help with that, then that's my work done. And I love being able to do it. I love being invited. It is such an honor to be invited into the spaces with you all to share in your stories and your journeys, that you trust me enough with that very vulnerable space is an incredible honor and a pleasure. So thank you.
Yeah, you do it very well. And that goes back to what you do when you do it. It's the concept of curating the safe space, right? Like whether it's such an important part. And I think, and that's why I do think things like the all women mastermind is an important one. And things like, I have taught men in my courses before, and I prefer teaching women. And I think it's just, at the end of the day, I have 2 daughters. I care very much about breaking generational patterns. Thankfully, they're on their own journeys, as we all are. And at the same time, right, we can only continue to trust and to know ourselves, trust ourselves, and love ourselves through in everything. And I think that gives us permission. I think when you're together in a group, and that vulnerability and connection is going back around the table, in essence, I think you give people permission to say, I'm fucking up. I'm stumbling here. I'm stuck. I can't accept. I can't It wasn't me. It's all him. It's all this person, that person, like all the things that, like I was saying about this spiral, right? This kind of this journey of awareness, moving from awareness to acknowledgement of how far you've come. I think that's the other thing that women are so bad at.
Yeah.
We don't give ourselves any credit. I think
For
it's
sure.
like what's next, like concept in a way. And to be frank, I don't think men do either. I think it's a very, it's one of those, what's the word I'm looking for? It's almost like for some people, you may have been raised with that's cocky or that's overly, arrogant.
Yeah. Yeah.
In essence, so if we're not really grateful for what we have accomplished and what we do and how hard that was, and that really was tough, and I did get through that the best I could. I was doing the best I could. Just all those words, it gives people the chance to just breathe and say, I can find results. I can find solutions. I can find choices. And I think I think right now is really an amazing time for women to be empowered.
I truly believe. Yeah.
And to come together in community and raise the vibrational frequency of this planet. Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm with you.
Yeah. So as mentioned off the top, you're also an author, Kim. Can you tell us a bit about your journey as an author?
Yeah. So I was really fortunate. It's just, I love life when all the threads, right, get woven together in some beautiful tapestry. It started with this woman, Jody, over from Australia, who wanted to, so short-term rentals, which is vacation rentals for the rest of us, became the in thing for the last, I'd say, 5 to 6 years. And as far as not only as an asset class, but really a chance, not only for people to, from a wealth perspective, to have wealth, but also provide this other experience for people right outside of the hotel space. And one of the main aspects of the story is that most people who got into the business did so accidentally. And we didn't know that, she didn't know that, but she suspected it, right? So she came up with the idea of gathering 40 authors, co-authors, to share their story about how they became hosts. And that was the first volume, Hospitable Hosts, that went on to 3 volumes, which has now become a conference, a summit, a both in-person summit, a virtual summit. I've been one of the mindset speakers on those summits. And now was just announced that it's changing its name to the Global Hospitality Collective. And with that, raising the bar on the standards, right? So like when you go to a hotel chain, you know, you're going to have certain things, certain ways. And that's reassuring, right? As a traveler, you spend this amount of money, you get this. So you spend this much more money, you get this, right?
Yeah.
When you rent a short-term rental, a vacation rental, you don't always know that the pictures are going to match what you get when you get there.
Right.
And the service, right? If there's a leaking faucet that's driving me crazy, is someone going to help me and fix it? So there's all these bits and pieces about becoming a host where people then recognize this is a business. This isn't just sharing my one room, making a couple of bucks in my house. Now we are purposely, intentionally creating these spaces for people to travel to. And so so being in that book became an entire movement. Okay. So
Incredible.
I am so honored and so flattered. And all of the ambassadors are just the dear friends now. And it's just a beautiful experience across the world of people who really care about the standards, really about quality assurance and hosting people. And a majority of the people did it accidentally, right? I call it the accidental entrepreneur.
Wild.
Yeah. There's amazing stories. The books, it's one thing after another about why people got into the business and then where they took it. And then subsequently, primarily because of you, I wound up being a co-author in Transforming Pain into Purpose with Adrienne Alvarez. And that was an incredible experience. And then subsequently, my good friend Jen opened her own publishing company, Raven and Grace. And I was in her first co-authored book, Heal to Lead. So and they've become communities of people as a result and missions, if you will. And I'm again, just really grateful to have all these parts of me. And I'll tell you a quick story. January 2024, Jen, she leads retreats all over the world. And she called me and she said, hey, I just had somebody drop out. And I have one spot, but I had somebody else drop out. I don't know if you have a friend, but I'd love for you to come to Sedona for a women's retreat. It was like a 5-day retreat. And I forget what, because it was a share. I know what it was. It was a room. Anyway, details. Point is, I said yes. And I went with a girlfriend. And I went there with a very specific question. And the question was, it came from feeling that I needed to choose between hospitality business and Purveyors of Leisure and that path, and Insight Seeker and my transformational work and that path. And the experience that I had in Sedona, I don't know if you've had the opportunity to be in Sedona.
No, I've heard.
Highly recommend. Yeah. I was 300 feet under the ground in a vortex, like with my ancestors in my ears, basically telling me, there's no choice. You are who you are everywhere you go. It was that message again. I didn't have to choose, and I haven't had to, and I'm not going to. I can do both, and that's where I am right now. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it was a really incredible moment to feel, just I was so uneasy because I wasn't ready to make a choice of leaving one for the other kind of thing. And yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, I've heard Sedona is absolutely incredible. It is on my bucket list for sure.
Yeah, if you go, you let me know, because I'm only like 3 hours away. I'll drive over and we'll have coffee. Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Yeah.
What do you think your unique skill set or superpower is that's helped you become successful, Kim?
I think connecting all sorts of things.
Connecting the dots, connecting people.
Connecting the dots, connecting the colors in a color palette, connecting an emotion to, I think I am very fortunate to be, my girlfriend Lindsay and I joke, I'm a first-class noticer, which means I see a lot of things. And so, it's the ability to connect, maybe not obvious, things that are not obvious to others.
Yeah. Okay. How do you define success? What does that word mean to you?
Alignment, moving through life aligned. That's really been the work that I have come to use more recently in, let's say, last year or so, like recognizing that that's really what I'm talking about when I say these choices I'm making, are they aligned with who I am? So success is really, aligned action.
Yeah. Okay. What does the word empowerment mean to you? How do you define that word?
Connecting with your internal power.
Okay.
And sharing that with others to give them maybe the permission or the experience that they can too.
Okay. We're going to jump into a little rapid fire section here. Okay. So the next grouping of questions just be 1, 2, 3 word answer type thing. Okay.
Got it.
How would you describe yourself in one word?
Fun.
What is your favorite self-care practice?
Journaling.
If you could teach the world one thing, what would it be?
Love yourself.
What is one thing you want but cannot buy with money?
Time.
If you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
To love.
What is one thing you love about yourself that is not related to your physical appearance?
My mindset.
One word that defines the woman you are becoming.
Limitless.
Beautiful. That concludes our rapid fire section. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. I created a bonus question that I did not send you ahead of time. You got this. You'll be okay. If you could take one feeling or one belief, bottle it up and give it to people, what would it be?
Belonging.
Love that. If you were to introduce yourself to me without mentioning your occupation, where you're from, your ethnicity, your religion, your nationality, all of those day-to-day superficial markers that we use, how would you introduce yourself to me?
I'm love and I'm here to love.
Oh, I like that. Very nice. If you could step into my shoes, what is the one question you would have asked yourself that I didn't ask you?
You did ask me about that. One question. I guess, what do I not like?
Okay. What do you not like?
Being asked questions I don't like.
All right. We'll go with that.
Actually, I don't. I raised my daughters this way, and we don't use the word hate, even if it's about that drink on your matcha you don't like. It's just using that. So I guess really the thing I dislike the most is using the word hate.
Yeah. Okay. Hate is a very strong word. I try not to use that as well. If you had the opportunity to sit down and have a 1-hour conversation with one woman, any woman in the world, who would it be and why?
My mom. I was so young when she left, and there's so much just left for questioning.
Yeah.
Unresolved or just more so just sharing, I think, just sharing more time. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Trust your instincts.
Lastly, if you were to deliver your last 30-second speech to the world, your corner of the world, your tribe, your people, what would that last 30 seconds sound like? What words of wisdom would you impart?
Love again and again.
Beautiful. Kim, thank you so much for taking and making the time to be here with me today. It was such an honor. I'm so glad we finally got to get this done. It's been a long time coming. So thank you so much for being here with me and for sharing a little bit about your story, your journey, the beautiful light you put out into the world through the multitude of work that you do in many different areas. It was an absolute pleasure. I am grateful to call you a friend and to have you as a member of the Empowerography community. Thank you so much, Kim.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you too. Once again, my name is Brad Walsh, host of your Empowerography podcast, a podcast that was created to help elevate and amplify the voices of women through sharing their stories. Today, my guest has been Kim Herrlein. She is a transformational coach, a visionary entrepreneur, author, founder of Purveyors of Leisure, a portfolio of vacation rentals and boutique hotels, also a Connect for Success mastermind licensee. Thanks so much, Kim. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends. You can find me at visuphoria.ca, follow me on Instagram at Empowerography Podcast, and on Facebook at Empowerography. Please join me next time for another inspirational story from yet another amazing woman.